Hi, I'm Chris Daw, three-time national wheelchair curling champion, silver and bronze medalist at the World Wheelchair Curling Championships, and you may better know me as the skip of the Canadian wheelchair curling team that won the first ever gold medal at the 2006 Paralympic Games in Torino, Italy. The video we're producing here this afternoon is meant as an instructional guide for coaches and aspiring athletes throughout Canada. This is Ernie Comerford, 7-year wheelchair curling coach.
If you've ever thought about trying wheelchair curling, I'd really encourage you to come out to the rink and give it a shot. You may find you actually get hooked on the game, just like many other people who have tried it for the very first time.
And this is Shannon Wilcox, one of those aspiring athletes I was talking about. Shannon's out here to give us a hand this afternoon to demonstrate how easy wheelchair curling is. Wheelchair curling is the fastest growing wheelchair sport in the world. So come on out, listen to what we have to say, and take part and give it a go. Wheelchair curling is probably the most accessible of all the wheelchair sports, not to mention the cheapest. In wheelchair curling, you need basic components. You need a wheelchair, a stick, a pair of gloves, and some warm clothing. When dealing with the wheelchair, you don't need a specialized one. All you need is your everyday chair. With your everyday chair, you need to make sure that you have a really good set of wheel locks on it, or commonly referred to as brakes. The brakes need to be adjusted properly so that when they are engaged, you are able to lock yourself securely. Of all the sticks, the extender is the most popular. It's generally accessible in all the wheelchair clubs and can be used by any type of disability. In wheelchair curling, the big important part to remember about your clothing is to dress in layers. They need to be comfortable with ease of movement. We also have a pair of gloves that we use. Most wheelchair curlers wear gloves because the wheelchair rims are aluminum and tend to get cold quite easily. That's all you need in wheelchair curling, and that's all the components. When you begin delivery, the big important components to remember is moving the rock out. Generally, the rock will get moved to the center line, but with a new rule change that was just introduced by the WCF, remember you can move it off 18 inches off of center, utilizing a better angle of attack. Now that you're in position, remember to back up and approach the rock from behind. This is very similar to able-bodied curling. We approach from behind so we can ensure we are lined up to the stone correctly. After you've approached from behind and got into position, ensure you lock your brakes firmly. If you have one brake, lock it in. If you have two, lock both. Then, in a seamless integrated league, where you don't have another wheelchair curler to help you, have your able-bodied buddy step in behind. Make sure they plant their feet firmly in behind your wheels, because on release, if they don't, you'll have a tendency to go backwards. After you do that, put the head of the stick into position. It's important to make sure that you are hanging on. In my case, I'll take my left hand, which is my non-delivering hand, and firmly grip my wheel. You can either grab a little bit further back or a little bit forward. This will all be determined by how big or small you are and how much grip you have. But make sure you hang on tightly. After you've gripped the wheel, now it's time to lean laterally into your shot. Leaning into your shot, or moving laterally, will allow your wrist, your arm, your shoulder, and your eye to align. Get your buddy to make sure that they lock in, keep their head down, and not look up until after delivery is completed. In the buddy system, have your wheelchair buddy approach from behind after you're set and basically ready to deliver. After your buddy's rolled into place, it's really important to remember to get your buddy to hang on tight. The other aspect is to make sure they're not looking around. In the buddy system, your anchor is going to want to see where the stone goes. They'll have a tendency to pop their head out or do the peekaboo effect. They need to make sure that they're locked in there so you can get the best performance out of your stone. Make sure that their head's down and their hands are gripped, and tell them, look, you can look afterwards, not now. Otherwise, your rock is going to be offline. Another fundamental component to remember when positioning is how far back from the hog line you are. The WCF states that the rock must clearly be released before the hog line. What this means is that your stick must be clearly off the handle of the rock before the rock reaches the leading edge of the hog line. In our case, what we're going to do is take our stick and position it so that we're far enough back to clearly get this release. Here is an example of a good delivery. And here's an example of a bad one. This is clearly a hog line violation. The rock has not been released before it goes over the hog line. In wheelchair curling, when we position the stone, the old rule of thumb used to be move the rock to the center and have the handle at 12 o'clock. This is contrary to what they'll teach you in able-bodied curling, where the handle of the stone is usually placed at 10 or 2. In wheelchair curling, in order to get a better delivery and a more accurate delivery, we want to ensure the handle's at 12 o'clock. And then what we want to do is turn the handle slightly towards the skip. This will enable us to better hit the broom at the other end of the ice, ensuring that our rock goes exactly where we want it to go. Turns is how you actually put the curl on the rock. This is commonly referred to as an in-turn or an out-turn. In wheelchair curling, we're going to simplify it just a little bit. What we're going to do is refer to it as turning your palm up or turning your palm down. What this will do is enable you to put the curl on the stone. Now remember, you don't have to turn your wrist all the way over. Too much turn, too much spin. If you have too much spin, you're not going to get enough curl. What you want to do is a subtle movement, turning your wrist up or palm up, or in the other case, palm down. Subtle turns means a subtle curl, which means the rock will be more accurate. The next thing we need to talk about is accessibility versus functional accessibility. Now, don't let the word accessibility scare you. It doesn't mean $80,000 or $100,000 in changes to your building. It can be done for as little as $200 to make your club functionally accessible. It can be building a ramp, moving some furniture, or having a couple extra people around when your wheelchair athletes need to get on the ice. For more information on functional accessibility, contact the Canadian Curling Association. The biggest thing to remember about wheelchair curling is going to be the athletes. Unlike able-bodied curlers, the athletes can't be grouped together. Each athlete will have their own disability and ultimately their own understanding of what their needs are, whether it's their tolerance to cold or whether or not it's their capability of how long they can throw the rock for. Remember, when dealing with wheelchair athletes, the key understanding is individuality. Treat them as an individual, ask lots of questions, and you'll go quite far. So there you have it. You have the fundamentals of wheelchair curling, both from a coach's and athlete's perspective. For more information on how to practice, go to curling.ca. So let's have fun, take part, give it a go. What do you say? Let's go curling.